So, uh, as we are presenting today, I'm Neeraj Kumar, Solution Architect at AWS, and also with me is Vetri Natarajan, who will be presenting. So, moving on. So, for this session, it's important to understand the background on the AWS cost and usage report, as it is the key component that serves all usage patterns, and we'll talk about it briefly. Um, Once we understand the AWS cost and usage, we'll go into the objectives of what we have built it around QuickSight usage analytics. We will highlight the solutions that we have built and show you the architecture, also all the building blocks, which can help you understand how this has been built. Next, we will showcase the dashboard that is the outcome of this solution, and that has all the insights we can look up to understand the usage, and in case of looking options to optimize cost with some examples. Finally, Vetri is going to run the process live and show you all steps that is required to deploy in your account, which you can follow along, or you can follow these steps as you. This will be also, as it's a recorded video, you can follow all the steps later. As time permits, we will also highlight all the resources that you need and also take all your questions on the community as well as in the chat. We are going to we are not if you are not able to complete any Q&A, just to call out, we will definitely respond to your queries if it is being posted on the channel with the tag just now Maddie has shared. So with that, let's move on to, so as I said, the AWS cost and usage report is a key, or is a prerequisite for our QuickSight usage analytics. So AWS cost and usage is a detailed billing options within your AWS costs, which you can get it from the billing and cost management service. And it basically provides a comprehensive information about your AWS, all your AWS resources, providing a usage and cost around that. And it is also known as CUR. Let's now talk about briefly how about setup and configuration of CUR. So as you would do, right, you would be able to create at a prayer, or you can link it all across your account levels. So you can set up your CUR at a pair or linked accounts, or you can also consolidate into one account. When you set it up, you can set up the granularity, whether you wanted to have it hourly, daily, monthly. And hourly is the most preferred because then you can easily grain it up, aggregate it up to a monthly level and see the monthly usage as well. It is very necessary to have the resource IDs to get the complete details of each and every resource, be it, let's say, if you have to look at the usage patterns at the dashboard or even at the user who is using it. So you would be able to get that grain if you have enabled the resource ID in when you are enabling the cost and usage reports. You can set up the format as CSV text, but Apache Parquet format is the preferred one because it will have the compressed formats and it will provide you the partitions and everything along with that. And further, you can refresh daily, and it gets refreshed daily into your S3 account as it gets deployed. Just to go through quickly into the architecture of CUR, you might have already set it up in your account, and if not, this will be a quick recap. So as you opt in, you get a CloudFormation template from your S3 bucket. And once you deploy that, it will create a glue crawler and Lambda functions. And these Lambda functions basically trigger the glue crawler to run as and when the CUR data has been updated into your S3 buckets, and to look for partitions, and maybe by year and also by a monthly level, and update them. And also you don't have to refresh the data. It's basically taken care by the Lambda functions, which are basically doing the partitioning and pulling the data for you. So you can access the data, and which can be easily queried in Athena. And that's the same database and table we will refer later for our solution also, something we will highlight as we deploy. So you would need a database in the table name for our QuickSight usage analytics. So essentially, as I called it out, so cost and usage report is a prerequisite for our solutions. So with that, let's understand the QuickSight usage, which we recently introduced a solution through a blog, and you would see that blog link in the chat now. It basically deploys the pre-built QuickSight dashboard and will provide an insight into, like it can help you understand the QuickSight usage at a feature level, and you would be able to optimize the usage cost for the QuickSight. It will provide a view of the session consumption patterns. Like if you have any session capacity being enabled, you can easily see through like how many sessions being consumed by anonymous users versus the readers. It will give you a detailed view at a resource usage level, and you would be able to track them easily. Like some of the questions could be how many Reader Pro licenses have been added in the last 90 days or so, or what is your actual session consumption pattern looks like in the last 6 months. Likewise, you wanted to see how what are my accounts in which my anomaly detection, you have set up the anomaly detections and for which particular dashboards. So likewise, many of these questions can be there, which can be answered through our QuickSight usage solutions. Now we'll walk through its architecture. So as I called it out, the very first thing is a prerequisite, which is a AWS cost and usage report. We just talked about it. Once, let's say, it is set up in your account, you can leverage it for building this QuickSight usage analytics. As a first step, as part of the deployment, what we are going to do is you are going to create a glue job, which will extract the user information from your QuickSight account. And it will also, as part of the job, it will also create S3 bucket and will write this extraction of users into this particular job, right? To the S3 bucket. As a step two, what we are doing is we are building a Athena table, leveraging the user information that has been written to of your all your QuickSight accounts to S3 bucket. So we will leverage that, and we are building the Athena table on top of it. We are also utilizing the cost and usage data that you have, the CUR data, and we are aggregating it to create a monthly snapshot, because for patterns to understand, it is necessary to have it at a monthly level. Further, if you wanted to customize at a daily or weekly level, it can be customized because the solution is already going to be built in within your account. But for our use case, for this particular scenario, what we have considered is the monthly snapshot. That is what we are aggregating it. And that is through the view that is getting created. Once the Athena table and view gets created, finally, we deploy the QuickSight assets, which is basically there will be a data source connecting to Athena. There will be a data sets that is getting created. And finally, the dashboard, which will basically give you the insights into your usage. Once you have that, you can share it with your users within the account, and they should be all the stakeholders can access and see the QuickSight usage patterns and take the decisions as needed. With that, I'll move on to and switch to a demo. So we wanted to show deployment steps, as I called it out. But before that, I wanted to first jump into the QuickSight, my QuickSight account, and wanted to show you some of the key KPIs and the information that dashboard would have, and also the building blocks quickly. So the very first step is basically having the S3 buckets, and then you will have the S3 buckets that is created through the deployment. You will also have the ETL job that is created, and basically you would be able to run it, and that will extract all the QuickSight users informations, be it a reader or admin or reader pro users that you have within your account. All those information will be written into the S3 bucket, right? And then finally, there will be the stack is also going to create a database which is going to be QuickSight usage DB, or you can customize it. And then within that database, you will have this particular table, QuickSight users information, which is again pulling it from that S3 bucket. And again, as I called it out, it is also creating a view, which is aggregating your data and bringing all the QuickSight informations of our for the particularly for the Amazon QuickSights, and basically for a duration from 2024 onwards, but you can customize it as needed, right? With that, once the tables are created, what we are doing it now is the deployment is also taking care of, and it's building the data sets and also the dashboards. Let me go into the dashboards, which is my any company QuickSight dashboards, basically to show to look into the QuickSight usage for the company. So in this example, as you see on the dashboard, the very first tab you would get it when you deploy it is your data dictionary, basically providing you all the features or the product groups usage types within your account. Like if you have this, if you have the reporting turned on, or if you are using a pro users licenses, or you have turned on the Amazon Q in QuickSight, its usage, or if you have any usage around alerts plus the readers and the author subscriptions. So it will show you, highlight you, gives you all the details around that and what the blend rate is corresponding to each one of them. So you can easily pick and choose and understand the data around that. And again, this is coming from cost and usage. The second tab is your summary sheet. In the summary sheet, the very on the top, you will have the date range. Like in this example, I'm looking for my usage in the month of February 2025 for any company. And I can see that what my unblended cost is, which is 20K. I have for my this particular account, I have 11 accounts which are linked to my pair accounts, and that is what it shows me number of QuickSight accounts in the org. And I see that there are 6 accounts in which the Amazon Q in QuickSight is being enabled. I have about 300 reporting units that's been utilized across my accounts, meaning these could be email reports or could be a scheduled reports that is turned on, and the reports are sending. We are sending it to the end users. It shows me like what the Spice usage is for the latest month, which is 10 terabyte. It gives me that perspective. It gives me perspective of how many alerts has been utilized across my accounts versus also how many build authors I have across these 11 accounts. Also gives a breakup of pro users. If I'm using I have a author pro users or a reader pro users across these accounts. I would be able to fine grain and look into each and every users and who are these and even which account it is enabled in our different tabs. But here on our summary, we also have a reader usage. It is very important to know how many total build readers are there within the accounts. And out of that, how many are on the new subscription-based pricing, which is $3 subscription. If you have created a new account in the last 6 months or so, you would basically be on a $3 subscription. But there are, for the enterprises, there are accounts which are grandfathered, and you might be still on the usage base where you are using the 30 cents per session pricing, and that is what is being called out here. So in this, for my any company, I have 459 users which are on my legacy pricing or the usage pricing, versus there are 166 which are on the new pricing. So I can see easily the breakup. Also, it highlights how many inactive readers are there within accounts. Maybe for a particular duration, they have not logged into QuickSights, and we can go and subsequently identify those users as well. We are also showing on the session usage KPIs, like we wanted to understand if you have session capacity turned on within your accounts, how many total sessions you are using, and out of that, how many are utilized by the registered users versus how many are anonymous users calls. We are providing a monthly trend overall. You can also look at it by the product types, how my trend is. Like for example, I just wanted to look at the pro and author pro and Reader Pro. I can see my Author Pro subscription has been increasing, while the Reader Pro, that's something I can look back. Rather, it should be more of like users should be utilizing my all my Amazon Q and QuickSight features. Similarly, I can see the usage around the reporting. Likewise, I have seen like my reporting usage has increased in the last 2 months. Roughly, you can take a look at it all the product time. We also have provided a monthly view of each of these usage and unblended cost. And yeah, as you go and widen your selection range, if you wanted to look for last 6 months, it will give you a complete view, and you will be able to export and even look at the trend as well. Further going back into the details, the first one was on gives you a summary KPIs. The next one gives you more details around, and it is very essential to look at all these details. For example, here, the one way I can analyze these usage pattern is through the reader session capacity usage. And here I can see now I have multiple accounts in which my reader session capacity has been enabled. I can easily look into how my readers sessions are and what my anonymous sessions are, and it gives you a complete perspective. There is a one account, as you see on the screen, in which I have the total sessions 30, I have a reader session is 30, and there are no anonymous users. Something to look back and look at the usage into this accounts, whether does it really require me a session capacity, or it can be a reader, it can be turned into a usage-based pricing, user pricing. So that is the decisions I can easily take, and I optimize this call instead of paying the $250 per month for that particular sessions for the session capacity. or likewise any session pack I have purchased for this particular account, I can reduce the cost here. So gives you a complete view on that, and also gives you an opportunity to define and redefine and optimize the cost as needed for your accounts. Also, it gives you a consolidated view, like how many are there. Let's say, for example, let's take an example of reporting. So within these accounts, as I've seen, like there are 3 accounts on which I have a pixel perfect report being turned on. But I can see now only 2 accounts are leveraging it. I see the report generation happening. There are 308 units of report units has been consumed. But there's a one account where I don't see any report generation happening. Maybe the pixel perfect report has been turned on, but nobody is utilizing that feature. So something to look back and enable the users within that accounts, or provide more details to the authors, or if it's not required, maybe turn it off. So likewise, this gives you more opportunity to optimize the cost with respect to at a feature level. There are ways like we can see where this reports has been scheduled, and I can go back and see on which particular dashboard it is. Also, I can look back into, for example, I wanted to see author pros, how many author pros are there into my accounts. And I can also go back into a reader pros as well, reader pro subscriptions. And if I wanted to go back and check who all these readers are, I can easily find it out, these readers, and then I can reach out to like any company group users are there. And this is the user, and possibly if how they are using my Reader Pro licenses, whether they are leveraging all the Amazon Q and QuickSight features very well. So gives more opportunity, gives a more deeper view into all these informations. Finally, using this information, also extracting, as we are extracting all the QuickSight users information from our QuickSight accounts, this will give you a complete glimpse of how many Reader Pros, readers, author pros are there within my account, and likewise all these personas highlighted, and I can figure it out who all my readers are or admin pros are within my accounts. If needed, I can reach out to them. Utilizing all the build readers within my accounts, and that is basically coming in, if as you have seen, it is coming from the cost and usage, and all my users details are coming in from, I'm extracting it from my QuickSight accounts. Using both these information, I can easily figure it out who has used my, and how my patterns been utilized for my QuickSight assets, and how many readers are there within my account, essentially, which have not they have not logged in into QuickSight, and they have not used any of the resources. So I can go back and see, okay, in last 9 months or in 12 months, who are these users, and then I can reach out to them. I can help them enable with all those QuickSight new features, and I guide them so that they can come back and they can use the QuickSight features very well. Or there could be like I can provide them more trainings also, right? So there are a lot of opportunities to identify your inactive readers. That is where this particular information would be really helpful, in addition to what we have already seen, that optimizing the cost and all. So these are the key KPIs as highlighted, which provides you a complete overview or a detailed view into your usage. And with that, we'll hand it over to Vetri so that he can show you live with certain steps to deploy. And these are easily can be done it following the instructions of the block. So over to you, Vetri.
Thank you, Neeraj. So what we'll do now is we are going to do the actual deployment of the solution that Neeraj walked through. And the way I would do is that I would follow this block so that you can be sure that which part of this block makes sense and relates to which part of the deployment that you would do in your account, right? And as for the solution is concerned, Neeraj walked you through this one. So first part is something that what we will do is um, create a glue job and an S3 bucket that is primarily meant for you to extract the user information from QuickSight, and then we will bring all of these together in Athena using Athena table and view for bringing in the billing information for QuickSight into Athena as well. And then the third CloudFormation template is going to deploy certain set of QuickSight assets like the data source, data sets, and the pre-built dashboards into your QuickSight QuickSight service as well, so that you once this data is made available, you will be able to directly visualize it in QuickSight. So as a prerequisite, I just want to call out those things again. So you need to have access to AWS console with on several services, especially the identity and access management, and also you would want access to or you should have the CUR report already created, and there is an AWS data exports set up in your account, right? And this AWS data exports is something that you can do it under the cost billing and cost management service in your AWS console. And one of the key things that you want to do here is this is the sample report that or the data export that I created, right? And one of the key things that Neeraj called out is, you need to include the resource IDs whenever you enable or you create one of those data exports in CUR or the cost and usage reports. So this resource ID will have those resource level information. Basically, the service or the feature level billing can be fetched from the cost and usage report. Right? And if you are creating this data export for the first time, right, then it would take a day for you to have the data pulled into your S3 bucket. So just want to make sure that you understand that latency on the very first run of the data exports. And then you also need access to these services. Obviously, like you will be running 3 CloudFormation stacks in sequence, and you need access to the Glue jobs, AWS Glue services, Amazon QuickSight, S3, and Athena. These are the services that we are using as part of this solution and the deployment. Right. So I'm going to run the first stack here. The first stack is going to create an S3 bucket for us to collect the user info from QuickSight, and the way we would fetch the user info is using the Glue ETL job. Right? So these are the two things that we will create here. I'm going to launch the stack now on my account. Right? And here, one of the key parameters that you want to add here is the QuickSight identity region. Right? So QuickSight identity region is a region where your users are managed in QuickSight. So you can find that out if you do not know, like if you pull in any of your user ARNs, right, of QuickSight, you'll be able to find out where exactly which region where your users are managed. So in my case, it is managed in US East 1. So I'm going to add that as the parameter. So we are creating a first stack, which is the user stack. And these are the two resources that would be created. One is the S3 bucket and the glue job role. Let us go here. And typically the way that the structure in which these resources are created, it always happens, you can search for QS-usage, and there is the role that would be created in IAM with all these essential details. It depends on in which region you are running these jobs. And also a Python shell script. This is the glue job. You will see, again, it is appended with a prefix of QS-usage. It makes you easily identify these resources whenever you want to run these things. And this is a file name that would be created. So let's go here to the CloudFormation again. Yeah, both these resources are created. Let's now go to S3 bucket and refresh this. So you see that the S3 bucket is created in with the prefix of QS usage, followed by your account name and the region. Right now, this bucket is empty. There is no data present as of now. So in order for this data to be present, we need to run that glue job at least once. As per the solution that is deployed, this glue job is scheduled to run once every day, and then adds the data into this bucket, right? But for this demonstration purposes, we are going to run that glue job manually. So I'm going to refresh this. I'm on the AWS Glue Studio, and I'm going to refresh the ETL jobs that are there. I see that QS usage users info is the job. I'm going to select it and run the job. So what this might run for a few minutes, depending on the number of namespaces that you got and the number of users that you got. I'll just dive a little deeper into the job itself and show you what it's a simple job, but and I'll show you what it does. Okay, so if you look at this one, it is going to pick in the list of namespaces in your account. So if you have, especially if you are doing a multi-tenant implementation, then you might have different namespaces other than the default namespaces in QuickSight. So this job is going to look at all the namespaces that is present in your account, right? And for each of the namespaces, it is going to list the list of users that are there, right? So it is going to extract all of this information, the user ARN, username, email, role, and everything. And then it is going to, basically collect all this user information for each of the users in all the namespaces. It is going to iterate through, right? And then it is going to write it over to the S3 bucket, right? That is what it is, a simple job that does one single task, which is get the user info of all the users in all the namespaces in your QuickSight account and write it into an S3 bucket. So let's see the runs. It is succeeded. Now let's go to the S3 bucket and let's refresh it. You see there is a folder called monitoring, QuickSight, user info, and you see the CSV file that is written, right? I will show a sample CSV file, how it looks. Yeah. So this is a sample CSV file. It is going to have all the users that are there, the user ARN, username, and user email. I kind of hid it for so PA information. I just added a sample. But if you look at one of the key things here, I talked about the namespaces, right? So this account have multiple namespaces. So it has iterated through multiple namespaces, and you can see different namespaces available here. Okay. So this is how the user information extract in the form of CSV would look like. So now we are done. Let's go back to the blog. So now we are done with extracting the user info from QuickSight. Now let us go to the second step of this. So I did all of this thing. I ran through. The second set is basically for you to get this information, that is your cost and usage report or the data exports, as well as the user info, which is now in S3 bucket, onto in Athena, right? So that it is all ready, consolidated and ready to be imported into QuickSight. So the second stack is going to create a couple of resources. I'll get to these things once I run the stack, because running the stack could take a few minutes. So I'm going to launch the other stack. Basically is creating some Athena resources for us to make this data available for QuickSight. I'm going to launch the second stack. And here it is one of the parameters that you need to look out is the car source table, right? The car source table is nothing but, as a prerequisite, we said that there needs to be a data export that is created, which basically puts all those cost and usage report or the details into an S3 bucket. And as part of the prerequisite, you would also run a Glue cataloging, so that that particular S3 table, S3 location where the cost and usage reports are going and placed is cataloged in Glue for Athena, right? So in my case, I have this one in what I call a QS billing. This is the table in which I have this is the database in the Glue catalog, and this is the table in which I'm bringing in all the car information, right? So if I run a select star from here, it has all these details from the car report. So what is required is I need to give a parameter, which is basically the database name dot the table name. Right, so I'm going to copy this from your Athena or the Glue catalog, whichever that finds comfortable. I'm here picking up from Athena and going to the CloudFormation. And first, the database name dot the table name. So this could be different depending on how you are creating those Glue catalog for your current report. So I entered this one and click next. So in this runs, let's go back to the blog and talk about what is happening really, right? So first, it is going to create a table. First, it is going to create a database, right? It will create a database we call as QS usage DB in Glue, and then it is going to create a table QS-user-info, which is going to point to this S3 bucket where we are putting all the user details from QuickSight, right? So we are basically bringing this user info details into Athena. So that is what it would do. And it typically should have, whenever it is successfully run, you should see a different database here. Let us see. Okay, it is complete. So let us go ahead and refresh. And you see there is a new database called QS-usage-DB. And in that, you see one table already available, which is basically showing all the details that would come from the extract that we just ran, right? So let us go ahead and do a preview table. And it is bringing in all the details from that particular S3 bucket. And now, second part is you have this QS billing info here in this particular database, right? As part of this solution, what it does is that it would have created a saved query, a new saved query called QS usage curve view query, which is basically aggregating the data as it is necessary for this particular solution in QuickSight, right? For the data set. So if you click on this particular saved query, this is something that is created after running the CloudFormation template. So this is another saved query that is created. I just click on this. And what it basically does is that it is going to aggregate all the information from the QS QS billing.QuickSight, which is what I gave in as a parameter. And it is giving it, selecting it for 2024. As Neeraj mentioned, you can, if you want to go back, you can always choose a different year here so that you are pulling all the data from that particular year onwards. And we are creating a view in Athena so that whenever you pull the data, you don't have to run all of these things, run all of these joins, but rather just execute the query directly. So I'm going to execute this command wherein I'm going to create a table or view in this particular QS usage DB. Okay, so if you look at this one, as of now, there is only one table for user info and there are no views. I'm going to run this command to create the view. And you see that the view is now available here. And you can again preview view. It should bring in all the current information back into this one in an aggregated way. Okay, so now we have both the QuickSight user info and your cost and usage report, both brought into Athena and ready to be pulled into QuickSight. Okay, so that is the second CloudFormation template that we ran. And the blog also shows you one of the saved queries that you can run that is also available. So I touched upon this. What is the table name, database.table name that you have to give. These things are done. I executed this create view and it is done, right? So now let us go to the third step, which is basically about pulling this data into QuickSight and create a pre-canned report so that you can visualize all this information in QuickSight, right? So I'm going to launch the stack. Okay, this is the third stack that I'm going to run and the final stack. I'm going to click launch. And here there is another important parameter that you have to use, which is the QuickSight admin ARN, right? QuickSight admin ARN, whatever the ARN that you given here, the user ARN that you given here, is basically the one that is going to have access to this dashboard by default, access to this dashboard, right? Or all the resources that we'll create. If you, just to reiterate, in QuickSight, whenever there is a new resource like a data set or dashboard is created, explicitly no one gets access to it unless the owner is except the owner. And in this case, if you're using CloudFormation template or APIs to create a dashboard, you need to explicitly share it with a specific user so that they get access to this, right? So there is the so in this case, I'm going to give my admin, I as an admin, I'm going to give my user ARN here, and that is what is going to be used. That ARN is going to have all the permissions for any resources that are being created. Okay. So the best way for you to get the user ARN is to use the list user command or describe user command from QuickSight. Here I have the user ARN already created, already taken, and I will show you another command. By the time the CloudFormation template is running, I can also show you another command that is going to tell you how you can fetch this user ARN from. Okay. I'm going to click next. Okay. So now this is going to create several resources in QuickSight, right? The first one is the data source, and then it is going to build some of the data sets, and finally the dashboard, right? And it also produces a theme, and all of these things will be created automatically for you when you run this CloudFormation template. So the first thing that I want to run is showcases the command that you can use to get the user ARN, right? So if you have anything on QuickSight, let me launch QuickSight service here. So here I figured that I'm the user, I'm the admin, and I want to give access to this particular user to all the dashboards that are being dashboard data sets that are being created as part of this solution. So I copy this, and what I can do is that I can run a CLI command or an API, which is basically the describe user command, right? So I do the you can basically run the AWS describe user command, AWS QuickSight describe user command to get the user ARN. Sorry, I lost that command, fortunately. Yeah. And I'm going to copy the username that I copied from QuickSight and putting it here. Right? And it is going to give you the user ARN. You can copy it from there. But if you want, you can also see the structure of the user ARN. You can also create it if you know the account ID, the region, and everything, right? Then you can also, formally create this, construct this ARN as well, right? And let us see. Okay, these are all running still. So the other thing that I wanted to highlight, whenever you are bringing the cost and usage report into QuickSight, right? There are two variations in cost and usage report. One is the legacy report, right? And there is another CUR 2.0 standard. So with respect to this solution, there is a slight variation if you're using the CUR or the CUR 2.0, CUR legacy or the CUR 2.0, which is basically on these two columns, the product group and the year, right? So if it's a legacy, it is straightforward. You could use whatever the view that I created, you could use it. But if you're using CURD 2.0, you basically have to derive this product group from the column called product family, right? So this is something that you can do by modifying the create or replace view command that you have here in Athena, right? So this create or replace view, this is a place where you can, derive the product group differently from a product underscore family and the year as well from another column, right? So you just have to make those slight changes in the create or replace view query that would be executed on Athena, and then from then onwards, everything else is the same between these two types of reports, right? So these two types of reports is basically the AWS data exports on your cost and billing, right? So if you go to this AWS data exports, and if you're going to create, so whatever that I ran against is the legacy core report. But whenever you're going to create anything new, you have the option to choose what is it. So CUD 2.0 is basically the standard data export. So yeah, it depends on whatever that you are running. It is that this slight variation that you need to make to ensure that the details are coming up correctly in Athena. Okay, let's go ahead and check the CloudFormation template. It's all complete. And let's go to QuickSight, launch the dashboard. And I see the QuickSight usage and analytics dashboard. And launch it. And I see all those information, right? Whatever the Neeraj demonstrated and discussed on the key KPIs, all those things are now generated for my account, and it has run through it. And now, whenever you set up any scheduled refresh for these QuickSight data sets, then this, let's go to the data set here, our view, the refresh, it is done. If you want to run it periodically into QuickSight, you can add a schedule here so that all these things get refreshed periodically into QuickSight as well. That concludes our demo and how you can run it. And the blog also has details on, say, for example, if you're experimenting with the solution, you want to unwind or clear all those resources. Blog also has the details of how you can clean that up. Like you can clean the first, it is like a stack, right? So you are going to clean up the usage, the dashboard QuickSight resource stack, CloudFormation, then the Athena, and then the glue job and the S3 bucket. The only thing is that before you delete the glue job and S3 bucket stack, you need to make sure that the usage, QuickSight usage bucket is empty. Otherwise, your deletion of the stack would fail, coding that this bucket is not empty and it won't be able to delete. So just make sure that you empty all the content within that S3 bucket where your user info is going in, and then you should be able to use it. Delete the first stack as well. Okay. And these are some of the documentation that you could use. Basically, the pricing page that we have, and the pricing calculator that can help you estimate how you can optimize pricing for your specific use case in QuickSight. That is another thing. And then this is the link to the usage blog that we just run through, right? So all of these things. And if you have any other questions on any of these, you can always contact the AWS support or your AWS account team for assistance, and they'll be able to help you out or point to the right resources where you can get the help.